Welcome to the Fit Bridge, a podcast connecting you to conversations that help bridge you to success within the health and fitness industry. Hi, friends, and welcome back. As always, I'm your host, RC Hahn, but today we're going to switch it up a little bit. We're going to put this podcast in sports mode. I've got professional athlete Ryan Hunter joining us today. Now, Ryan's an offensive lineman for the NFL and has played for teams including the Super Bowl 54 champions, the Kansas City Chiefs, as well as joining the lineup for the Los Angeles Chargers before moving to the CFL, where he plays for the Grey Cup champion team, the Toronto Argonauts. We chat through what it's like to take dreams into reality and healthy ways to overcome obstacles and push through challenges when life doesn't always go as planned. We also discuss what's next beyond the field. This conversation's lighthearted and fun, and I guarantee that these lessons and stories are going to resonate with so many of us. I'm grateful that you're here, and I hope you take something away from today's episode. Let's get started. Hello, Ryan. I want to start by saying congratulations on winning yet again another championship. You're out here collecting rings like Pokemon, man. You're recently engaged. You are just winning at life. And I'm winning at life because I have the opportunity to have you on the podcast today. How are we feeling?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. Yeah, so far the last couple of months, I guess you could say things have been going pretty good for me. So hopefully they can keep going that way.
Love it. Yeah. Well, hopefully with this icebreaker game, we stay on a good positive track. You have elected to play the randomized questions game. So to preface, neither one of us know what question is about to be asked here. Shout out to episode 12, Steve, for gifting this book. He mentioned it in his episode, and now we're paying it forward and we get to play. So this could be the best or the worst thing that's ever happened to either of us. You ready to play?
Let's do it.
All right, let's kick it off. First, I need you to select a number between 1 and 29. Wait, no, 1 and this is already not 1 and 129. 1 and 129.
I'm gonna go with my lucky number since I was a kid. I'll go 7.
7. Okay, we're opening up to page 7. And now you have to select a number between 1 and 4. There are 4 questions on page 7.
We'll go 3.
3. Okay. You're stuck on a deserted island. You can only listen to one genre of music. What genre of music are you listening to on repeat?
I'm gonna go house music.
Okay, you got like an artist?
Like soft EDM. Nothing in particular, but like if I'm doing like tasks or if I'm doing like busy work, like I like something that's like a good upbeat, like constant tempo that's not too high, not too low. So like I feel like on an island, like, you know, a little soft EDM like keeps the vibes going.
Okay, I feel that for you. It's not a bad island to be stuck on. Seems more like a fire festival island at that point, but
yeah, hopefully pre-explosion of Firefest. Yeah, everything was looking promising.
Right. You down to play another? Should we do another one?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's rock and roll. So, same question between 1 and 129.
Let's go jersey number 62.
Okay. Let's see what you're doing here. 62. And then between 1, 2, 3, or 4.
Let's go with 2 this time.
2. Do. Okay. You can only paint the outside of your house and the inside of your house. All walls, exterior, interior, cabinets. I'm talking the full shebang, man. Only one color. What color are you picking?
That's tough because as someone who loves to cook, I enjoy like a good contrast of colors in the kitchen. So I feel like having one solid color is going to be tough. You can't go too dark because then it's like depressing, but all white would get so dirty. Maybe like a cement gray
Okay.
or like a cream color, maybe something that's like light but like doesn't always show all the stains, because like you don't want to clean everything that's all white, but you still need a little something that's like, I don't know, has a little shade into it.
Yeah,
So
very
cement gray
logical.
or cream, there we go. That's my reasoning. I'm sticking to it.
Very realistic answer. I was gonna go with like fuchsia or something. Just
I love
like,
like dark cabinets are like one of my favorite features in a kitchen, but I also enjoy a light contrast. So I like cherry wood is my favorite like kitchen wood, but like a full cherry wood kitchen, I feel like would kind of be a lot.
that would be a lot, especially when it's the exterior of your house as well.
Yeah, it's like
Look
that's
at that
all you
cool
have to
cherry
look
wood
at.
house.
Right. Yeah, I would lose my mind after like a month.
Oh, well, I have some questions I'm burning to ask you here. Maybe at the end we'll close it out with another randomized
All
question here.
right.
But you're a Super Bowl champ. You're the Grey's Cup champ. In one word, can you tell us what it is like to win a Super Bowl or win a championship?
It's almost like surreal, like thinking back at like the moment where we realized that like we had won the Super Bowl, like it almost didn't feel real. Because it's like when you, I mean, think of like growing up your whole life, you wanted like there's this one goal that you want, like you want to like whatever it was with growing up, you wanted like more than anything. Like when you're a kid who loves football, the Super Bowl and the Grey Cup is like the ultimate like reward for like hard work. And so when it like was finally like when the dust had settled and like the clocks had hit zero, it almost like I feel like both games I like just took a moment to myself like at first and was just like, is this really happening? Like it was just crazy. Like you just like think of how many people have played the sport or have like been in the league and have never had the chance to even like maybe go to the playoffs, let alone play in a game or win a game. So it's very surreal. I almost feel like it's just weird to think that I have one. And like you think like when I was with the Chiefs, like Coach Reed had been in the league for 20 years and he never got one. And I was there for 2 years and I got one. Or like the rookies who were there year one. It's like crazy to think that, it took him so long. Part of it's timing, part of it's luck, and a lot of it's hard work. So it's a recipe of everything combined that kind of just like came into one. And then once the surrealness of it kind of settled, then you start to celebrate and like just like seeing everyone's face, like just the happiness after like a championship victory is like the best.
Did you happy cry?
No, I
Oh,
didn't.
yeah. I was gonna say no judgment here. I just had to know. I
I
would be
might
like
have had
happy sobbing.
I I might have had a couple with the Super Bowl just because it was like the first one, and like I think not playing had a part in it. Like the Grey Cup win felt different than the Super Bowl win, just because I played in the Grey Cup, so I felt like having an outcome, like having a say in how the game, like how the outcome goes, felt different than like being on the sideline and not dressed. Like it was almost like you were a teammate but a fan at the same time. And like when I was playing, I was just like focused on the game. Like I didn't nothing else. Like I didn't really know what else was going on. I was just like, are we on the field? Or are we not? And then kind of like from there, you just go forward.
Yeah, so cool. Do you have the hardware? I know this is a podcast. We're recording
Yes.
video as well. So if you had to
No,
switch over to
I
the video,
did.
guys, I know you've got, show me the bling. Oh, yeah. Chiefs fans, tune in, check that bad boy out.
If I can get a little bit better lighting on it.
That's nice. Ooh.
Where did I go with it?
Bling, bling.
So, yeah,
I feel like we need some post production, like audio, just like a blinging sound.
yeah.
I like that style.
And then
Do you wear it all the time, or do you not
I've only
wear
worn
it
it.
ever?
No, I've only worn it twice. I wore it the day we got it because it was the day we got it. We went out to dinner as an O line afterwards, so we had it all on that night. And then the next day, I had it on for like half the day, and it's just like got in the. It's like too big to wear on your hand. Even like just scrolling through your phone, like weighs down your finger, and you can't your other fingers like get in the way of the. It's yeah. So I wore it then, and then I wore it to a friend of mine's wedding who was a Chiefs fan. He was like, "Dude, you got to wear it. Like my family wants to see it." So I wore it to that, and otherwise I haven't worn it yet. No, I don't feel like it. Just like it gives you like it's very attention seeking, and I like to kind of like stand in the back and like lay low. So I feel like wearing this, especially as a large person, like sticks out even more. So, I mean, it's more one of those things like for me to have like to show my kids and like to have in our family like forever, versus like to wear it for other people. But special occasions, I'll wear it. There just haven't been that many that have come up.
Yeah. Well, thank you for wearing it for the special occasion of this
Yeah, no
podcast.
problem.
I'm honored that that was a highlight moment to feel like it was appropriate to toss the ring on there. Yeah, I can see where the size of that bad boy, you'd have like muscular imbalances or something, and it would be detrimental to your career, and you'd have to blame it
Yeah.
on how heavy that ring was, so it throws off your wrists or something. But speaking of career, I'm sure you have a ton of highlight moments beyond being, a champion multiple times. I'm sure there's some other things that really stand out. Could you share with us maybe a moment or a memory that's significant that you feel like has made just a lasting impression on you?
Yeah, I think like the two moments that I feel like I really like were kind of like pivotal in like I guess the progression of like my career because I left home when I was 16. I moved to the US. So like to me my like career started when I like was in high school because like moving to the US was really like a business decision. So for me the first step of like, you know, like something that had happened where I felt like I was like okay, I'm going the right way was when I got my first scholarship offer for college. I went my junior year and I didn't have any. And then going into my senior year, I started getting a little bit more traction, but I was still like a pretty lower level recruit being from Buffalo. It's hard to get recruited. It's not like you're in Alabama or Louisiana or Florida where like there's power five, 5-star athletes everywhere. So it's harder to get recruited in New York. And only being there for 2 years didn't help either. So I think that was the first time when I realized I was like, okay, maybe this is something that I could do, and it was one of those things where like moving to the US, that was one of my goals. So like reaching my first long-term goal kind of gave me like more motivation to like be like okay, you're doing the right things, like just keep going with it. And then after that was when I signed with the Chiefs as a UDFA, to kind of start my pro career. So like that was the other thing. Obviously you have to sign a contract or like get an opportunity in order to like have a career in that field. And so when the Chiefs signed me after the draft had concluded, that was kind of my other moment where I was like, okay, like I needed this to happen to be able to do the rest. So like now that I have this opportunity, it's like you got to do, with it like the most that you can. So those were really like the two that stuck out. And then like moments in my career, obviously like winning the Grey Cup and winning the Super Bowl were like incredible moments, but like those were kind of things where like it's all extra. Like the long term goals of like leaving my country when I was 16, like getting the scholarship and then getting that first contract with the Chiefs was kind of like it just felt like more of an accomplishment because like a lot of it had been sacrificed like leading up to that, and like there was just so much uncertainty that like moving countries and going to school in a different language was kind of like um it was just a lot for like 16. But once I hit those, it kind of like remotivated me, refocused me, and uh I guess here we are now.
Yeah, well, congratulations. I'm sure you're happy looking back that you made that difficult decision at the time. I mean, speaking of challenges, I mean, I'm sure that is a major one in your life, but we all have obstacles, adversities, and seasons of our personal lives that we've had to push through. Could you share with us maybe that is that moment, moving at 16 and following this, burning passion and goal you had on your heart? Or was there another time in your life that you had to push through? And where do you continue to find strength or healthy outlets? And I mean, in the world we're in today, we all got our thing, right? And how
Right.
does, someone like yourself that's obviously a professional athlete, you've got the grit, you've got the mentality, you've got the work ethic, like the drive, but how do you overcome things when they're not going well?
I think like realizing that like not everything in life is going to be like easy is like your first step in like understanding that like things are going to happen that aren't like what you want it to be. Like once you start realizing that like when bad things happen, it's like like not like pouting or feeling sorry for yourself is like one of the like I think the hardest things for like kids to become adults is like realizing like bad things are going to happen. Like when you're a kid, it's easy to like pout because your parents are like, oh, it'll be okay. Like you get over it. It's not that big of a deal. But as you grow up in life, bigger problems and bigger issues are going to like arise, and figuring out how to like deal with them in a healthy way has been like I think where I've grown the most mentally since becoming a professional. I mean, when I was like 3 days into training camp, my first year moving to Buffalo in high school, I thought I wanted to like go back home and quit because the football was so much harder. I was just like overweight, out of shape Canadian kid trying to like make it in US football. And like the second day of training camp my junior year, I had like a full body cramp after like one of the
Oh my God,
practices.
I
And
didn't even know that was
oh, it was like
possible.
it started like with my calves and worked my way all the way up to my neck. I looked
Oh
like I
my
was having like
gosh.
It looked like I was having a seizure on the side of the
Yeah.
road. Like it was like full body. It was bad. And I
Wow.
like went home and like I remember like going to bed that night, like just crying. Like I was like, I don't know if I can do this. Like you're with a family that you're not used to. So there's like kind of like awkwardness at home. And then like the football was tough. Thankfully there was no school yet. It was just football. But yeah, I mean after a couple of days I kind of just like got over it. I was like, you like your family moved you to a different country. Like you can't just quit after 3 days because then it's like they wasted all this time, effort, energy, and money, and you're just gonna like quit. Like that's not like to me that wasn't a possibility. So I was like, you just gotta kind of suck it up and like fight through it. Like this was like the first time where I didn't think like things were easy, but like quitting was never an option. And then the more I did it, the easier it got. And the guys on the team were really cool, so they helped a lot to get through that. And then I'm trying to think college was tough when I first got to college. It was almost like the same thing over again. Like a freshman, I was super out of shape, like didn't understand. I mean, you get it as someone who works out a lot. It's like when you start something that you're not used to, like at first you're like, it's really hard and
Yeah,
you
your body will
struggle.
get shocked real fast. Like, oh,
And
haven't
then,
done that in that way in a while.
right.
Okay.
And
Hello,
then the
new
more,
muscles.
yeah. And then the more we did it and like the more like we ran and lifted together and the older you get, the more your body matures. I kind of started like developing in ways that I wanted it to. So I feel like every step of like where I've kind of progressed has been a challenge at first, just like getting used to the speed and the strength and the ability of like the players. But once you get used to it, then you can kind of like you feel comfortable in your skin and you can feel like you can be yourself a little bit more, and that helps you really kind of just like shine.
Yeah, yeah, that's I mean, a beautiful story and reminder for, everyone is sometimes it's not fun and it's hard at the beginning, but, imagine if you would have given up and not have persevered and, quit right at that 16 when you were crying and it sucked and it hurt. And it was, that's no matter what scale of, physical goal you have, I feel like that's relatable for everyone, for the individual that's just trying to gain, bring back their physical health and lose some pounds or, get back feeling mentally well. It's like it's a process. And at first it sucks, but you gotta stick with the process if you follow through. I mean, you're a testimony journey of that. It does work and, hard work and consistency and the brick by brick and day by day, and it'll always be okay kind of thing. Yeah. Well, speaking of, if you wouldn't have had persevered and pushed through all of the pain and challenges that came across that journey. So in an alternate universe, you're not playing football, you're not an athlete of any sort. What other occupation would we see you
If
pursuing?
I was not doing anything football related or athletics related, I would probably be a lawyer. When I was in college, I was a pre-law student. And I did an internship with the prosecutor's office in our county where I went to school. And then I did research for one of our professors in our major who was one of like the leading researchers on police crime. So and he used to be a lawyer as well before he became a professor. And so he really got me interested in law and like the classes we would take, like certain classes I would take based off of like what the curriculum was. It was more like lawyer based, argumentative, like looking over old cases. And then I minored in political science because they had a lot of constitutional law classes that you could take, and those were some of my favorite classes. I didn't feel the need to take just like the random filler class that you could take, so I felt like a minor was the best use of my additional time, and I actually enjoyed those classes. So I'm glad I did that. So yeah, I would probably do that. I thought about doing law school part time while playing, but with the financial and time burden that is law school as well as being a professional athlete, I felt like the timing wasn't right to do it. So for now it's on the back burner, but once I'm done playing, whether it be like paralegal or going back to school, it's something that I could potentially still do, and I'm still interested in doing. I mean, I'm only 27, so I'm still pretty young. It's just in the world of football, I'm getting old.
Yeah, you've got some time, right?
Right.
Well, that's exciting. Yeah. So it sounds like that is something that, potentially you'd like to pursue, post your athletic career.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I'm keeping open and as a possibility. I did an internship at the Senate a couple years ago when I was still in the NFL, so I got a couple connections from that as well. So that is an option. I'm recently like really been getting involved in just like learning about like real estate. So that is something that I enjoy learning about as well. See if I can like get connected with some people maybe in the area for that, because I feel like Kansas City is a good area to invest in real estate. So that's something that I'd like to look into as well. But yeah, there's like a lot of things that I kind of want to do. So maybe when I'm done, I'll just have my hand in like a couple smaller little things, and then like combined, it'll be enough to be an income to support a family.
Yeah. Other side hustles, passion projects. Cause I know what do they say? You need like 5 to 7, right? You got other ones in your back pocket you enjoy or dabble in?
So I do some card trading sales. I'm selling as well. Some of the guys that I was with when I was on the Chiefs, Andrew Wiley and Nick Allegretti, Austin Reeder, they do some of it too. I feel like I got them involved into it because I started talking to them a little bit. Nick was the big coin collector, and then they started collecting some trading cards. But I was pushing them to invest because at the time it was the prices were pretty good. So now they've gone up a little bit since COVID. But yeah, I did a little bit of card collecting, selling, trading. Just using some of my money that I have earned to invest with stuff that I enjoy, not just with my financial advisor. So, kind of taking little bit of a lead in my own like investing, but it's something that I enjoy and I'm passionate about. So I try to only invest my own money in things that I know well versus like
Yeah.
things that I don't know, where I'm just like, we'll just hope this hits. So these at least I know are like solid investments and have gone up in value. So try to be smart with it as much as I can.
Good for you. And I mean, that sounded as well like you're making investments. I'm not an athlete in the space, but so I have had heard, it's, common that a lot of athletes do not invest their money and then they're left, post career. Do you feel like that is a trend that happens, or is that something that from the exterior we see, or is that a reality that happens where players are just being, buying flashy shit and then not having anything
Yeah.
post career?
I think it used to be more of a problem. Now financial literacy is a lot more prevalent and the NFL is pushing it a lot more. I think also with the growth of social media, like over COVID, a lot of influencers or people who have done well in the real estate or like investment spaces, I've started making these YouTube channels and these podcasts and these TikTok accounts, discussing easy ways to make money and how you can like simply, take $5,000 or $10,000, which is a lot of money, but for people in the NFL who make millions of dollars, a small investment, as long as you do it correctly, can yield a really good result over time. I think people only see the flash and they don't really see, what they're doing behind the scenes. I can think of, multiple people who I played with who had their hands in, several businesses off of the football field. So they might have been making more money off the field than they were on the field. And it's just like anyone. Some people are more business oriented than others. Some people are going to be more driven to, work on sales and work on deals with people. And some people are simply just going to say, I'm going to give, 30-40% of my earnings to my financial advisor. And over time, my portfolio will grow. So, a lot of people see the diamonds and the cars and the houses and the designer stuff, and they think that they're just like blowing money on it. But speaking from experience, I've seen a lot of guys who buy fake designer things or fake diamond things, and when you see someone in that spotlight, you always assume that everything that they wear is real. So they could be wearing a $30 fake diamond necklace, and you think it's a $25,000 tennis chain. So reality and what people perceive is very different. And so I would say I've seen a lot more people be very smart with their money recently than people who haven't. And I know like the big 75% of NFL players go bankrupt in 2 year, like stigma is a thing, but most they don't. Guys might not save as much as they should, but I think as far as in general, I think a lot more guys are being smart with their money, and financial advisors are being more forward about you being like, hey, you're fortunate to make this much money in this short amount of time. This could literally change your life if you just keep doing this for 3 years. Like if you don't spend like crazy and you just invest, your NFL minimum for 2-3 years, you're set for life as long as you're, financially responsible. So I think, guys have gotten better and the information is easier to access. And so it's a recipe for success for guys for finances in the future.
Good. Well, that's refreshing to hear. Thank you for the reassurance. The empath in me
No
was like,
problem.
are these boys okay? Are they okay out there? Do we need to have a sit down talk with them? Yeah, speaking of the diamonds, I remember one time we're just laying down the cheat code for everybody here. remember I was probably like 18 and
Hmm.
I wore, as we all did, there's like fake cubic zirconium. Like it was just
Oh
this
yeah.
blingy ring. And I was in a jewelry store. They sold real diamonds. And
Hmm.
um, the advisor, the saleswoman, she was like, "Oh, wow, your ring is beautiful. How many carats is it? Blah, blah, blah." She's going on about how gorgeous this ring is.
Right.
And I said, "Oh, it's fake." And she looked at me with the most serious face and she said, like, it was like a life lesson for somebody older than you, just like upon wisdom on you. She says, if somebody has to ask if it's real or not, they don't know the difference.
Right.
And I was like, okay, so I feel like that's kind of also lying. So I don't know morally how I feel about it.
Right. Like, oh no, yeah, no, it's for sure real. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, well, if this lady who sells diamonds for a living can't tell that this is cubic zirconium, why would I spend my money on real
Right.
stuff?
Exactly.
Oh, you also mentioned during the pandemic era, you had brought that up. I'm curious to hear, what was that experience like? Because you were playing during the time, right? Active in the league,
Yep.
and nothing was going on in person. Like, how does one coach, play, practice football virtually? Like, talk to us about that whole experience.
Yeah, so that was a weird off season because that was the year right before COVID started was when we won the Super Bowl. So we were supposed to like go to the White House and do like a whole bunch of like off season stuff, and none of that ever happened, obviously, because everyone was locked down. But yeah, it was like super weird. It was very quick with how fast things had moved. I had just gotten back from vacation in Mexico, and I was just starting to work out again at the facility. I used to work out at the Chiefs facility when I lived here and played there because you could just go every day for free. So I was like, why go to a gym when I can just go there?
Yeah.
So I started training again, and COVID had just started coming out, but no one knew what was going on. So we were kind of like still in the gym, but like there was a lot less people than there used to be at the facility because only like the trainers, the athletes, and like the medical staff and like the cooks and stuff, like the people that needed to be there were there. And otherwise, like if you worked in a cubicle, you were just working from home. So it was like weird. Every day there'd be less and less people showing up, but they were still open. And then all of a sudden, you get a mass email from the whole NFL saying all facilities are shut down. Like follow local law enforcement policies for how to like go about this pandemic. And so, like out of nowhere, just like your access to your work is like shut off. Like you can't go work out, you can't go do recovery stuff. You're just they send you home and they're like, we'll let you know when anything changes. And so as someone who has to work out for a living, that's kind of not really an option. And I'm not I'm not well versed enough in exercise science to know how to like create a an NFL offseason program. So I'm like thinking like I'm gonna have to go to the park and like do pull ups on like the jungle gym and like run around. Or so
Straight
thankfully,
gym workout every day for just
yeah. So
push ups, pull ups.
I was about to like go to Amazon and buy whatever like some 20-pound dumbbells and figure it out. But thankfully there was a couple independent gyms that were open at the time, and some of the other guys on the team and some of the other pros who live in the area, whether it be basketball, football, volleyball, we all kind of found one gym where we could go to where it was open for like 2 hours just for us, and there was always less than 10 people, so we were still safe, but we needed a somewhere to work out and work. People always forget that like working out for us is work. Like it's no different than if you had a meeting or if you had a business trip. Like I got to go to the gym every day to stay in shape. That's just how I do my job. So yeah, for like 2 weeks I was freaking out, and then thankfully the gym was open for basically the whole off season up until training camp because everything was still closed before training camp started. So even training camp for the NFL was up in the air. We didn't know if we were going to have a season. We didn't know if it was going to be an abbreviated season. So the NFL was trying to figure out all the logistics while we're just kind of sitting there waiting, and it's getting closer to the end of July, and we're like, what is happening? So finally they're like, yeah, we're gonna have a season, but we ended up having all of our meetings at Arrowhead instead of our normal practice facility because we could spread everybody out. So the second level, like the club level at Arrowhead, was where all of our meetings were held. They were just held in different areas on the platform, and they had golf carts going around the second floor to like because it was such a long walk to get around from like there to the cafeteria to the bathrooms to the team meeting room. So they just had golf carts like going around the second floor for like a month straight during training camp, and we would just golf cart around Arrowhead, and that's where we had all of our meetings and stuff. So it was an interesting experience. It wasn't really no different once you're on the football field, but like to get around, you had to like you had to take the golf carts to the facility so you could get dressed for practice, but then you'd shower there, and then you'd have to go back for. So it was like you were split in between two areas, and it was just really really weird because no one knew what was going on. And then as you guys saw, I mean, the season was at the beginning was just chaos. I mean, every week there was like four teams with like 15 cases, and we're like, there's no way you can play it. The NFL found a way to puzzle us around the schedule and find a way to play a full 17, 18 game season. So it was crazy. It was an interesting thing to see kind of everything play out.
Yeah, no, yeah. Hopefully, I mean that's all done and gone, and
Yes.
no, we will never have to encounter that again. Yeah, I have a close friend of mine that's an elementary school PE teacher, and the teachers were all virtual during that time, and I was like, how, he was like, oh, it was just a shit show. Like trying to get kindergartners just
Yeah.
in general in person to like focus, but there was a curriculum by the state that you have
Right.
to follow. Like you need to do hand-eye coordinate. I'm like, I do not, whew, do not envy that job. Yeah, I was
Right.
like, okay, so I'm glad you made it through all of that chaos and came out well, probably stronger, better than not. Hopefully had some extra sleep time and mental
Yes.
relaxation time out of it. Well, I want to hop into a couple questions that we ask every guest that comes on the podcast. Our first one is where you have pre-selected 3 words, and those 3 words we just compile together into our toolbox of resources, our links, shall you say, that help us bridge the gap between where someone is and where they want to be. Do you have 3 words for our Fiber Foundations moment that you've selected?
I've selected 3 words.
Oh,
Yes.
I'm ready for it. Mike is yours.
You want
Give
to go
them
one
to
by
us,
one
Ryan.
or
What
just all
what
three?
what 3 were? Oh, you could. Okay, good question. Good question. Tease us. Give us the first one. Elaborate on why you have selected that word, and then segue into the other 2.
Okay. So I'll say
Okay.
the first word that I chose is consistency.
Okay.
I think whether it's like with work, with your training, with your diet, with your family, with your partner, like if you want to get better at something, you have to do it constantly, and doing it every single day will eventually turn into muscle memory. And whatever, whether it's being better at PowerPoints or blocking a three technique better or investing in stocks better, the more you can learn and grow at it, and the more you can do it, the better you can get, the quicker. And so I think that is like one of the biggest things that's been part of my path through from college, from moving from Canada to the US and now through the pros, has been like consistently like making sure that like my diet is like where it needs to be at that time of the year, my training schedule is right, and like not just like that, but like when I'm playing, to be consistently good. I mean, everyone is looking for consistency. That's the whole name of the game in the NFL and the CFL, is if you can do it better more, then you're going to get paid better. So being the best player every single play, not just having a good play and then three bad plays, just always trying to be as good as you can on every single play, and also just like every single day. So that's why I pick consistency.
Love that. Great choice. Adding consistency to our toolbox of success. And your other 2 words?
This one's, I feel like, used a lot by people, but support. I think having family, friend support, being there for you, has been huge. From the time I left home when I was 16 through getting cut all the time, moving cities, being unemployed, just like them saying like we still believe in you. We know like something's going to happen. Like that always helps push me. But then also I feel like knowing that they need my support too. Like you know, doing my best to get paid the most I can, so that way I support like my fiance and our dog, and like if my family ever needs anything or my brother, like I'm there for them. So like the support to me goes both ways. Like they support me because I know that like I have to do my best for them, but also like them supporting me and being there for me emotionally and like just spiritually is like huge too.
Yeah, I agree. When I just want to point out, I don't know if we caught that, but you said your dog before you said the rest of your family. As a full-time fur baby mama, that really resonated with me. And I work hard so that my pets can have a better life as well. So
He's got more toys, treats, and he eats better than most humans, I swear. That's my first dog I've ever had, so like he holds a little special place in my heart. So he's my little guy, but Yeah, no, it's cool. It's whenever I'm gone, I always miss them. So when I come back for the off season, it's always nice because my fiance teaches. So like during the day, it's just me and him. So you get a lot of boy time, a lot of time with the boys,
Yeah, your firstborn son. Yeah.
basically.
Oh, I want to pause there. I know we have one more word, but you were chatting about, support and challenges. What is every occupation has its challenges that are there. What would you say is the, biggest challenge that you face in your occupation and your day to day as a professional athlete?
I would say there's like kind of two categories that I would place it in as far as like that goes. The first is like, it kind of depends on where you're at in like the pecking order of players. Like for me being, a fringe player, one of the last cuts, one of the last to make the team, like, every day you go into work and you're not sure if you're gonna get fired or not. So like getting like understanding that that's just like part of the job. Like you can't go to work every day scared that you're going to lose your job because then you're just going to play bad football and then they're going to for sure cut you. So like you just kind of got to think like, oh, well, I need to just prove why they should keep me. So every day when you go out to practice, but you don't play, like you got to practice well and show that you're improving or like getting better. And then, so for me, that's that. But like for guys who play or like for like Pat, for example, his concerns is like getting ready for the defense or like, what's our third down plan going to be? So they're very different, I guess, problems or issues that you have growing up in a season because people who have job security don't really think about the job security aspect of it because they're like, well, I just have to worry about football. Like, so I don't like they just some of them don't really think about it. So that's kind of something I feel like a lot of like fans or people who are outside of like the professional sports world don't realize is like how cutthroat it is and how much like you could have a job one day and then no job for 4 months and then you're like you move across the country and now you have another job, but then you a week later you get picked up by another team. So that's always a juggle. And then like being away from family and stuff is pretty tough. Like not um being able to see them or like have them around because you never know where you're going to be. So like juggling, where you want to like make home base for your family, but also like realizing that like nothing's really permanent given like your job security. So that's one of the things that I like about being with Toronto is that they want me there as if I'm like a first round pick in the NFL because they drafted me in the first round in the CFL. So like they want to build the team around me and they see a future with me. So that makes me feel good and it gives me more like peace of mind knowing like okay I'm not just like another number to them, like they want me around and they want to build a team around me, so like it makes you want to like invest in the city more or like be like okay like this is more of a permanent place for me. Like Pat, for example, with the Chiefs, like he's not going anywhere. So like he can buy a house, he can settle roots, like he knows he's not going anywhere. But like if you don't know where your job's gonna be, it's hard to be like, hey, can you come move here with me? And then a week later you're out of the job already. So just juggling that, I think the older you get, the more you realize that at one point you kind of just got to say screw it and like pick somewhere, and like no matter what, like you just always go back there because I've chosen Kansas City for now for that.
Good
I love
choice.
the city. I love the
Biased,
city. I
good
love
choice.
the food. I love the people. So, I mean, for me, this makes the most sense for us to be here long term at Toronto. As much as it's a great city, it's similar to LA. It's very expensive, very overpopulated, and I like my green grass and back and fenced in yard, and my Traeger. So I enjoy being out here in Kansas and Missouri.
Yeah, don't have to explain to me as a decade LA veteran. I like my green
Yeah,
grass and my hammock on my patio and the lack of traffic here in Kansas City as well. Always beautiful cities to visit and continue to have roots and friends and opportunities there. We all just like you said have to at some point find your root, your grounded space that you
yeah,
can really call home, especially when you're constantly traveling and potentially moving around and such, to have that when things seem uncertain, you have at least that certainty of where home is, where your heart is and such. So I'm happy you chose Kansas City, my man. I'll be seeing you around here all the time. We got
yes,
mutual friends. So love that. And then I believe we still have a third word.
yep. So the third word I chose is balance. I think being able to juggle personal life, work life, and then just like your hobbies. Some of my hobbies that have grown on me are part of my training, but are different enough where when I do them, I feel like it's an escape. Like I've really, really grown on Brazilian Jiu Jitsu a lot over the
Oh,
last year or
cool.
two. I've done martial arts training previously as cross training, but traditional jujitsu training. I just started really the last year or so, and it's really like grown on me. And that's something that while I use as cross training for football, like when I'm in the jujitsu studio, like I just feel like I'm in a different world. Like it's just so disconnected from football and life that it's like there's nothing else going on. So like that's my happy place. So like finding your happy place, whether it's like on your couch with a book or like, watching a vlog on YouTube or, going on a walk with your significant other, like finding something that when you're doing it does like you don't think of anything else going on in the world. You can just disconnect and like I feel like being able to separate work life and pleasure is like a huge balancing act that everyone struggles with because sometimes you feel like maybe you're lacking in one category over another, so you try to compensate and just like being able to like figure out your schedule and what works with you and when you need those breaks has been huge for me for like really just kind of staying mentally stable and like not having too many emotional like highs and lows. And that's something that really just I've learned over the years and getting older. You kind of like the maturing process for me has been interesting. It's kind of like, you have like these small little moments and then it's like you have these big like I feel like drive when I've driven from LA back to Kansas City, that's when I've done like the most like just I mean I have 24 hours in a car,
Yeah,
so like
that's a
you just
drive.
think you're just thinking. So like I feel like a lot of like personal growth I've done over those drives and they've just been like I mean you're in a car in the desert, so you're just like kind of thinking about like your
In your
life and what's
thoughts.
going on. So yeah, I mean I've done a lot of good thinking, but I feel like it's all been positive and like it's all things that are moving me towards like just being like a man and growing up. And so they're like it's a lot to like process, but when you like view them in a positive like point of view, then it really really helps kind of just being like, oh, these are things that happen in life and they're just steps in the road, and they're all good things, and so it makes you excited about them.
Yeah, no bad lesson. I love that you brought up balance. I think that is a crucial piece. And there's, so much data that supports that imbalance really is prevalent, and that majority of people feel they're unhappy when you dive into it in depth. Is they're imbalanced, they're missing other pieces, right? They're happy financially, happy emotionally, happy relationally, but they're lacking in a different of the wellness dimensions. If there's 7 wellness dimensions, making sure that we are consciously trying to have engagement and effort in every single piece of our wellness. If it's a wheel, metaphorically, if you only have half a tire, well, we know how that's going to turn out, right? Things are going to feel
Right.
bumpy and they're not going to go smooth. And so, kind of that self awareness. I'm grateful that you have that, mentality, and hope that listeners embrace that as well to, find your balance and, just look within, have the moments. Maybe you don't need to take a 24-hour road trip from the coast to the heartland, but maybe it's another place that you can go to just be self-aware and pause for a second. And I think it's important to be with your thoughts and to process those thoughts, whether, like you said, they're might not seem like a positive, but every lesson, every chapter does serve some step in some season and chapter in your life that matters, and trying to make that make sense. So thank you for those 3 words. They've been added to our toolbox as pillars of success. And final question, I want you to get in your thoughts and go backwards in time. If you could speak to a younger you, what advice would you give? Let us know what step we can skip, what lesson we can learn from your life experiences of what you wish you would have had known.
Outside of investing in Bitcoin when I was like 10, I would say
Mic drop. Y'all heard it here. I mean,
just invest in crypto from the time you were born and you'll be all right by the time you're 21. No, I don't. I was thinking this was like the hardest one to answer. I felt like out of like all the questions we talked about, because like I really had to think about like what would I tell myself because I don't like I feel like everything that I've done like there's a reason it's happened and like there was a reason I'm where I am today. So I feel like had like would I change anything? I don't know. I mean, I've accomplished a lot of things that I have set out to accomplish. Has everything gone to plan? Absolutely not. But I think had you told like 10-year-old me, like, this is where you'll be when you're 27, I think I would say yes, like 10 times out of 10. I think the only thing that I really wish I would have like known earlier was just like being more open to learning. I felt like when I was younger, like I knew what I I mean, you as a kid, you think you know everything, so like you're not open to like knowledge or like learning about stuff. And I felt like I wish I was, because there's so much that you can learn, and the earlier you learn things, the easier it is to retain and to remember. And so, as someone who's now just in his late 20s, like trying to learn a lot about real estate or finance or whatever the industry is, like there's so much information readily available out there, especially nowadays. Kids, I feel like, are more inclined to like look up stuff. I think is it's a really good path that we're on. So I think like being open to learning and being receptive to learning and listening more than talking is a huge part that not just younger selves need to learn, but also as adults. It's easier to speak than it is to listen, but you always learn more and grow more when you listen than when you speak.
Yeah, I think that's a great lesson. Like you said, for everyone, no matter what chapter they're in, young or old, there's always things that can be learned from anyone and everyone around you and every situation and experience. And that's the fun of life, right? As long as you're breathing, you're living, and you should be learning something every day. So I know I learned some things today. So thank you for that. I hope everyone else tuning in learned something as well that they can take and apply with them. I'm going to turn the mic over to you. Is there any lasting remarks, words of wisdom? Do we open up for a final question? I'm terrified to do so, but
I'm down for another question. No, just thank you for having me. I'm glad I could come on and talk to you and discuss just things that have been going on and my journey through life. So I appreciate you having me on. And I think a last random question is a great way to end
oh
the
gosh.
episode. I'll let you pick the page and the number, so it's completely all on you.
Da da da. The final question. Okay, I just opened the book up
Okay.
randomly to a page. It's page 21, ladies and gentlemen. Page 21. Question 4.
Okay.
This is like a basic. You've probably been asked this one at some point in life, like table talk conversation. If you could possess one supernatural ability, what would it be?
Uh, I don't know if it's I don't know if it's, I would get the click remote that Adam Sandler had in his movie. That would be, but if I had to pick superpower, I'd probably just pick super strength as an offensive lineman. I feel like super strength would be very beneficial for me.
Just Hulk. Yeah.
Yeah, just blocking people would be so easy
Wowing
if I had
everybody.
full
Just
strength. Yeah,
oh, good answer. Good answer. I thought maybe you would like want to switch to offense and be able to fly, and then you would like just fly into the touchdown, like into the end zone or
I'll
something.
just fly over the field. That'd be smart.
Yeah. Try and tackle me now, suckers. And you're just like flying over everybody.
I've always wanted to know what it feels like to be super fast, but I would rather be super strong. I
Or
feel like
invisible. They can't tackle you if you're
that would be
invisible.
very nice. Yes,
Oh, we figured that one out. I think we're really on to something, man. You'll be in the league for life if we could make you invisible or fly or super strength or a combination of all three.
would be unstoppable.
Oh, well, with that final note, I think we have some scientific research to get after onto how we bring those supernatural abilities to life. We're in the same city, so maybe we'll powwow over a beer here and think about how we can merge our powers to make that happen for you. But
I'm ready.
oh, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your journey and your story and all your insights with us. And I know I will see you around soon. Stay warm because Kansas City or Toronto right now are neither one of those places are warm. So stay warm and take good care.
Thank you, RCU, as well. Thanks for having me.
Chat soon. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed something from today's conversation, let us know by giving this episode a like, chatting in the comments, and sharing it with your friends. We always love to hear from you, so you can send email messages to podcast@fibr.fit and connect with us on Instagram @FitBridgePodcast for even more exclusive content. Special thanks to our friends at Winner Productions for all things audio and post edits. And on behalf of the entire staff here at Fiber, it's been my absolute pleasure helping bridge community to opportunity. Until next time, make sure you click that subscribe button for more episodes and go download the Fiber app today for all of your health and fitness industry needs.